Hey guys, welcome back. So today we'll be multiplying square roots. Let's look at this example here. The square root of 5x times the square root of 45x. We're going to combine. So we have the square root of 5x times the square root of 45x inside here. And when we multiply both together, you are going to get the square root of 225x squared. Now we're going to separate this and simplify. We are going to get the square root of 25 times the square root of 9x squared. The square root of 25, this is going to equal 5. And then times the square root of 9, this is going to equal 3. But then don't forget the square root of x squared, the 2's are going to cancel out. You'll just be left with x. And when you combine everything, 5 times 3 times x, this is going to give you 15x. The square root of 3 times the square root of 27, we're going to combine 27 times 3. And 27 times 3 is going to equal 81. So now you have the square root of 81. And the square root of 81, this is going to equal 9. So your final answer here is 9. The square root of 3x times the square root of 12x. When you combine everything together, remember we're going to multiply our 3x times our 12x. And when you combine everything, you are going to get 36x squared. And now we're going to simplify the square root of 36. This is going to equal 6. And then you have the square root of x squared. Your 2's are going to cancel out, so you'll be left with x. So your final answer here is going to be 6x. Another way that you can solve this, so let's say you have 36x squared, can be simplified into the square root of 9 times the square root of 4, and then you have your square root of x squared here. The square root of 9, this is going to equal 3, times the square root of 4, this is going to equal 2, and then times the square root of x squared. Remember your 2's are going to cancel out, and you'll be left with x. Now when you multiply all of these, so you have 3 times 2 times 6, this is also going to give you 6x. The square root of 3x times the square root of 4x. We're going to combine our numbers here. So 3x times 4x. And when you multiply here, you're going to get 12x squared. And now we're going to simplify this. So 12x squared, we can simplify this into the square root of 4 times the square root of 3, and then times the square root of x squared. The square root of 4, this is going to equal 2. Times the square root of 3, I cannot simplify that any further, so I'm just going to leave that alone. And then the square root of x squared, these 2's are going to cancel out, so you'll just be left with x. Now, when we combine all of these here, you're going to get 2 times x. This is going to give you 2x, and then times the square root of 3. And your final answer here is 2x times the square root of 3. And when you get to this step right here for your 12x squared, remember there is another way that you can solve this as well. So if I do 12x squared and I simplify this, you can simplify this into the square root of 3 times the square root of 4x squared. The square root of 3, we cannot simplify that, so you'll just leave this alone. But then the square root of 4x squared, the square root of 4, this is going to equal 2. And then the square root of x squared is just going to be x, because remember the 2's are going to cancel out from here. So again, if you're combining these, you'll also be left with 2x times the square root of 3. 2 times the square root of 5 times 4 times the square root of 5. We're going to combine our coefficients here. So 2 times 4, and then we have the square root of 5 times the square root of 5. 2 times 4, this is going to equal 8. And then the square root of 5 times the square root of 5, this is going to equal 5. So your final answer here is going to be 8 times 5, which is going to equal 40. So your final answer here is 40. All right, now let's say if you wanted to take the long way. So if you have 2 times 4 here times the square root of 5 times the square root of 5. 2 times 4, this is going to equal 8. And then the square root of 5 times the square root of 5, this is going to be 25. Then you have 8. And then when you simplify the square root of 25, you are going to get 5. So now you have 8 times 5, and this is also going to give you 40. Negative 3 times the square root of 7 times 2 times the square root of 7. So we are going to multiply our coefficients here. So -3 times 2. And then we have the square root of 7 times the square root of 7. -3 times 2, this is going to equal -6. The square root of 7 times the square root of 7, this is going to equal the square root of 49. The square root of 49 is going to equal 7. So we know the square root of 7 times the square root of 7, this is going to equal 7. And then we have -6 times 7. This is going to equal -42. So your final answer here is -42. 4 times the square root of 5 times 3 times the square root of 20. So we are going to multiply our coefficients here. So 4 times 3. And then we have the square root of 5 times the square root of 20. 4 times 3 is going to equal 12. And then here we have 5 times the square root of 20. So we have 12. And inside my radical here, 5 times 20 is going to be 100. And then we have 12 and then times the square root of 100. This is going to equal 10. So now we have 12 times 10. And your final answer here is going to be 120. All right. So that is all for today. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.